Hi, welcome back to another episode of Gabe's Review Show, the third and final installment of this new batch of videos that could aptly be titled What I'm Reading this Summer of 2025, and presumably the last appearance of this short. It will be focused on Mother Night by Kurt Vonnegut. As you may know, we're very big fans of Kurt Vonnegut on this channel, and I actually picked up this book a little over a year ago because of course, I like reading Vonnegut, but two, it really felt like an important book that I had to read. I feel like it's one of his big three, up there with like Slaughterhouse-Five, objectively, and Sirens of Titan, you could say, or maybe even Breakfast of Champions, as opposed to a little bit some of his less popular works like Galapagos or like Palm Sunday. So I really quite enjoyed Mother Night. I think it's a very good book, and in that respect, I think I would give it 3.5 stars. Um, I found my interpretation is that you're reading a story of survival, right? You're reading um, this like chronicling in hindsight of the forces that made Howard W. Campbell Jr. and his wife, that's not really his wife, take the actions that they needed to take in order to survive World War II. And if you can extend the empathy necessary to understand why, I think one might interpret the characters as perhaps aligning more good rather than, sort of the wicked people that they sort of like, that their actions may embolden them to, not embolden them, but like manifest as, right? They manifest as bad people. That's what boils to the surface. And so it reminded me a lot of Albert Camus' like The Stranger, but not necessarily this idea of like not caring, just so much someone that perhaps does care but really doesn't know whether they have the ability to take a step out in either direction, from what they're already doing. They don't know if they have the ability to change, and so despite the fact that perhaps they do care to change, they never will. Now, I I will say, I think it's maybe a touchy subject, but I think the presence of Israel as like the geopolitical state as a character within the book that is sort of like the literary characters are simply the prison guards, but sort of the ideology and the the political power that is Israel presents itself as a character within these two or three men that we interact with, and we understand that Howard W. Campbell Jr. has already undergone trial in the United States and been exonerated because his actions as an evil person were done with an ulterior motive behind them. But, of course, Israel doesn't know this, and so they arrest him and they bring him in for trial. Again, because generally the world hates Howard W. Campbell Jr. for being a traitor and a horrible person that executed large parts of the Holocaust. But, it sort of, the word's not approve, but it makes right to this idea that Israel, like, because of sort of the tragic beginnings that caused the founding of this country, has a right to do whatever they want politically, to expend this like extrajudicial prosecution of Howard W. Campbell Jr. because of what they've been through. And that's very much a very inappropriate and disgusting ideology that one could carry into 2025 about Israel, and that's simply inexcusable. And so you can't entirely blame Vonnegut for writing in this perspective years and years ago, but you still, again, maybe not the best like interpretation of Israel's validity as a political power. And so, yeah, all in all, 3.5. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for listening.